هو جيجونا ناتي اوبتنسك
If you're experiencing technical problems with you integrating this product, please click on the help button below the presentation window. Steve Walsh, editor, chief of spectroscopy, and your moderator for today's event. We're very pleased to be joined today by Matthew Beaudelet. Matthew received a CS in physics from the University of Lille, France in 2003, and began his work in spectroscopy with Fourier transform microwave spectroscopy. In 2005, he received DNS in laser and spectroscopy from the University of Lyon, France, working on theoretical quantum optics. Then, in the laboratory spectrometry, INEAC and molecular in Lyon, he completed his PhD in laser-induced plasma and spectroscopic analysis under the direction of Professor G. So the advantages of LIST for biological testing and food monitoring. He has written publications on the use of fast pulses to improve this technique and the development of analytical techniques to understand and extract the maximum information from those spectral bacteria. He's advocating his research on laser spectroscopy and sensing as a senior research scientist for the Towns Laser Institute at the University of Central Florida, Orlando. This panel covers the fundamentals of laser-induced plasma and the application of laser spectroscopy such as LIST, Raman, and STIR, as fundamental diagnostics as well as sensing techniques for defense and environmental applications, and the study of propagation of ultra-short laser pulses for sensing purposes and synthesis of signal range. Thank you for joining us today, Matthew. Hi, thanks, Dave, for this introduction. Thank you for taking this opportunity to present this seminar on the basic principle of this. And so first, I want to thank the audience, and I want to be sure that people understand the real meaning of the real goal of this presentation. On this slide, and the goal for this is trying to make a difference between this and the physical aspect of it. So this is really an analytical technique. So you can have this idea if you have this instrument itself, which is the one step in the process. If you want to know your sample, and this instrument is just here to give you data, and then you analyze those data, and then you go into the process. So if you open this box, then you see that you have different components, and those components, for sure, you can see the name of this, is you get the laser to use this plasma, for example. Then you get this plasma emission, and this emission will be analyzed and provide you the data for the rest of the process. And on this seminar, I want to focus on the basic principles, so I won't go on very technical aspects, but any of the phenomenon itself is the laser-induced plasma or the breakdown, and also use this phenomenon to obtain information from the sample. So as you can see on this slide, I will focus on how you can get plasma from any sample, and what is the kind of emission you expect from such a plasma. And why, going back to the statements, is because it's very unique in the sense that you can create very optimized tools to address the problem. And the only way as any analytical technique is to understand the basics if you want to apply it very efficiently. So first, a very short overview. I didn't want to go towards the 60 years of kind of this, but I wanted to show the very beginning of it. And so we can go back to 1860, I would say, and it's a paper by Kirchhoff and Benson, and showing the use of this control frame for analytical purposes, and even some elements of it very well, intense studies with this frame. And then 60 years ago, and this is a nice anniversary this year, the first laser field came in, and that was kind of the revolution. Then the idea came very shortly in 62, and why don't you use these lasers to create this frame or create this plasma by extracting the matter, and then extracting the matter you just extracted. And this is a paper by Russian Cross that was during this 6th international conference before Cookie in the US. And then a year after, there was this very nice paper by Mrs. Zabrowski on Yodek, who presented a kind of an overview of several samples. And thanks to this study, we can see that there are some very nice list opportunities that they already saw at this time. And I think I want to talk about this further paper by Oswald at the time results. And as you can see in the bottom right, this short time result spectrum of the laser-induced plasma. And that shows that we have this continuum at the very beginning, and that was kind of the notion of why time resolution is very important in this. And I think those pre-papers were at the very beginning because they were addressing the basics, and they were addressing the technical difficulties that you have to deal with in this. But who is the community? And okay, so now you have more than 50 countries doing research in this. You can see that yellow on this map. Mainly every continent has its rich lab, I would say, and analyzing many different samples having different purposes. And so it's this community addresses either research on the modeling part, on the development part, and the development part is very intense when you go towards the industry. And here is just an overview of some companies, mainly based here in the US, some European ones, doing either very compact systems for application in the field, or having benchtop systems very specialized, like you have here from a laser who's doing an analysis of drugs, for example. You have other, you even have some companies who just deal with analysis of the data, because this is so rich, as many of you can know. This as a cancer technique has a very rich spectrum when you analyze the data in your sample. And so you need to have a nice understanding of what is the spectrum if you want to have a very efficient analysis. So even some companies are specialized in this field. And just 2 weeks ago, there was this international conference in Memphis, Tennessee, in the USA, showing that this community is very effective. And so you can see across the Atlantic on the both sides, you have the European community, and they have their own conference every 2 years at the same time as the North American community as is. And so I like to some days for some people who are interested here. Is the state of the art in research. There are 4 books of this
So there is very intense ability to write those books, and really appreciate those people you can talk to, and they have a very nice overview of the technique. Then the main journals where you can find the state-of-the-art research, and it is applied microscopy, for example, spectral data. JAS has more and more this paper, and we know what's the level of quality in JAS, and it's very nice to see that this seems to be recognized for the quality of its work. And Vitoptics is also a very nice journal where you can find other research activities. This is by itself community is very related to other communities, and there are very fundamental ones like the laser material processing. So laser material processing, why? Because as we said, the laser just need to extract the matter with the laser, and so you want to optimize this. So the laser material processing field is the expert for laser rotation, laser material coupling, laser material interaction, and we learn a lot from them. There is also what I call the basic photography field that would be all these very well established techniques like ICT, AS, GEOS, and even a lot of publications in both even frames and parts spectroscopy. And those techniques are really, really important for this because you see the same kind of temperatures, the same kind of electron intensity for your plasma, so you learn a lot from them. Then on the equipment side, we work a lot with the laser development field because, as we said, you want to optimize your laser source to address the right questions. So you also want to have compact sources, you want to have adapted pulse durations, you can go from nanosecond to femtosecond usually, and so you need to work in parallel with the laser development teams. As for spectroscopy, it's the spectrometer for sure, and it is so broad. Emission, you can have a nice emission from the far UV to the IR, and so for this you need to have adapted spectrometers and domains ready to provide this instrument. For the detectors, as you'll see later on, you really need to have detectors that can catch this pulse even, and this pulse even can last like a few microseconds. So you need to have fast enough detectors to have an optimized detection. So usually companies, you can work with companies directly working with chips or electronics, and then we have the HCC, and then the CMOS technology is something that's going on and growing. There was a nice talk on this conference showing the advance of the CMOS technology. And then, as I was saying, some companies are working on this data analysis, so we learn a lot from the chemists themselves for their geometric analysis, the pattern recognition, all these techniques that sometimes are not used in other fields like in ICT or in GD, but here we use all this information in all those fields. We try to have them around us to develop the best technique. So then, why going back to basics again? And then I start this seminar. Because there are several steps in the lift event. When I say lift event is you bring the laser, you extract, you excite the matter, you let it relax, you have a spectrum, and then you have your information. But this, you have many processes you need to understand, and you need to control it, you want to optimize your analysis. So laser absorption, for example, for the sampling, plasma formation for the excitation, plasma cooling, and emission to optimize the detection. And understanding this would be a great help for going to each as well as it can sometimes be the only option. So now let's go on some more fundamental science and explain. The first step is I bring my laser on the sample, it's laser pulse, and I extract the sample of it, and I excite it at the same time. So I do a laser evaporation and the plasma formation. Here is just an overview of what would be a linear laser absorption of three different kinds of materials. So I put this equation that is the temperature diffusion in the material, and it's very well known equation. It is mainly laser material interaction books. And you can see that on the first term on the right side of the equation, we get the diffusion equation, the diffusion term. Then on the right, you will have the source term. This source, you can see there is the absorption term, alpha, and there is the reflection term, R. And those two terms are really, really important because it's really shows the coupling between your laser pulse and the material. And here are some examples, like for a metal, you can see that you will have for low wavelength, so high frequencies, you will have a very nice absorption, low absorption, low reflection. So the thing you would want to optimize the absorption, but lower the reflection. So you have to find this small range if you want to optimize your interaction. Then if you go to some metals, you need to have absorption bands, and here is just an example. If you have a band gap around this omega naught, and then you can see that you begin to have some features in this absorption spectrum. And then you can go to a very, very complicated case, like here's the tissue interaction and tissue absorption coefficient. And when you have this kind of spectrum, you want to detect specific elements, for example, within this, then you can address specifically one absorption band that you know will help you to have the best signal and the best analysis. So the wavelength of the detection is a very important parameter in your list analysis. The interaction of the word here I show. I just showed the linear one, but the non-linear absorption happens if you have lasers in the subsequent regime. Why? Because the subsequent regime needs to have no equilibrium between the electrons you have in your material and the lattice or the matrix of your material. And because of this, you need to create non-linear processes in your sampling, and you can go even shorter and have under 10 femtosecond. And then in this case, you can have no equilibrium between the electrons themselves. So you have different processes. You don't play only with the wavelength, but you can play with the pulse duration to optimize the process you want to have. And you can even go with the intensity just to reach the non-linear processes. And the non-linear processes would be, you can modify the electronic characteristics of your material to optimize this extraction and this sampling. You can generate more free barriers by which for the absorption in magnetization sometimes. And you can even create lower densities and have still a nice intense plasma. Then, once you have interaction between the laser and your extraction of the matter, then you want to have this evaporation. What you want to do is you want to create a vapor, and this vapor will be very important to go towards the plasma. So I'm sorry for this equation. You will see this later on. And so the idea you can go on the left figure, and the idea is when you see these phase diagrams, you want to go from the solid to the vapor. So you need to reach first the liquid phase, and then you need to go to the vapor phase. So if we are taking linear absorption, then you want to go from a set of parameters like the pressure, the density, and the temperature of the solid. Then you bring this source ready to the laser. You pass the boundary between the solid and the liquid, for example, and then you have the density of the material. And then you pass, again, you still bring a lot of energy to the laser, and so you have the evaporation of the material when you cross the liquid vapor phase. So all those processes have to be understood, and you can optimize the evaporation of the material for a better signal. So then, once you have the evaporation, what you want to do is once you have a vapor, because your vapor can be a simple gas, and then you will have quite a signal from the constituent of this gas. So what you want to do is form a plasma, and this plasma formation is one of the big steps, because here you need to have a lot of electrons that will ionize your matter by ionization. And so the first electrons you have then with the laser just grab them from the surface. So you have the work function that gives you the first electron of ionic emission. And you even have evaporation during the melting of your material. You have the electrons can be ejected from some dust particles, some aggregates, or some droplets in your plasma. So all those electrons will be of importance, and this is the main thing in your plasma. And sometimes, and very usually I would say, everybody has a nanosecond laser. I would say in lab, it's easier to get a nanosecond laser than a femtosecond laser. And then this time scale of the nanosecond is longer than the plasma creation time. And so the laser brings energy to those photons and to this evaporated matter. So you can have beautiful ionization with this high intensity, this high electronic density. You have lowering of the ionization potential drive of the ions. So you can bring direct ionization as well. So once you have this plasma formation, then you have this equilibrium between ions and electrons. And this equilibrium is governed by the psi equation, and this is the rate. This is the rate constant of this equation. So you have an atom or an ion, and you go to the next stage of ionization, and you get an electron. And you can go back with your other combination. And in this, usually you don't go so far in the ionization stage. So you have to ionize the neutrals, and because the temperature won't be higher than 2 to 3 ED, but ED is something less than 35,000 Kelvin. And so this plasma formation is the key, and this is the very beginning of your event. Then, as I was just telling you, you can have the laser itself, usually the tail of your laser, so the front of your laser extracting the matter and creating the plasma, and then the tail of your laser can still grow in the plasma, and then you can have what is called the inverse branch stratum. That is, you accelerate your electrons that are already free in the plasma, you accelerate them with the radiation of your laser pulse. And so that can happen because you have acceleration around neutrals and ions. So these two kind of equations here that you see is really dependent on what kind of radiation is your laser. So you can see on the first one, each equation, when you have this equilibrium, magnetic equilibrium, you're starting from this equilibrium. And so from this, you have the laser optimization to drive your electrons. And then on the next part of the equation, you can see it's really dependent on the density of your atoms. And that goes back to the optimization of the extraction you just put into the beginning. So here I kind of passed in the review of how you would, very simple review of how you would create the plasma from the solid target. And now once you have this plasma, then it will expand in the background gas around and reach, so with the different processes you have and reach some kind of equilibrium. And this is a very important notion when you have the Lipschitz event. So the expansion, it's a very, you have a gas, so you have a vapor, it's ionized, but anyway, what you have is you have the dynamic of the fluid, so you have the mass conservation, you have the momentum conservation, and you have the energy conservation. So the energy conservation, you have the normal terms that you see that this gas can make itself, but you have those two terms at the end of the third equation. The first one is the laser heating by the inverse Fermi, as I was just telling you in the slides before. And you also have the losses, so you have recombination of your electrons, and you have the branch termination. So all those processes that lead to these radiative losses are mainly governed by the electron. So you have electron density around your matter, and this will lead you to elastic collisions. So this won't help so much to get an exciting species to get you a signal, but you can get elastic collisions. So by collision of an ion with an electron, you will fly into an exciting state. Then you can have ionization itself that can help to have higher states of ionization, and so more signal later on by relaxation. And if you have some radicals, for example, here an example is the radical AD, you can have dissociative attachment that gives you creation of some negative ions for a short time. And you can even have dissociation of this, equilibrium of dissociation between electrons and those radicals. And those electromagnetic processes are also occurring at the same time with some collisions with atoms and molecules together. And so same thing, you can have elastic collisions, you can have inelastic collisions. And so as we were saying, it's just a unique condition states if you want to have radiation from your plasma. You can have ionization, and you can also have associated ionization. And some other processes that are very important to transfer. So you can excite one with another that can be used to, in some configuration to excite a specific species in the plasma. You can have radical formation. So for about a year, you can create this radicals like AD and chemical reactions themselves. All those processes and those collisions are very important, and I want to focus on the collisions there because that leads to the important notion of equilibrium and the plasma equilibrium. Here is, we're assuming it's one slide, but I will spend a bit of time on it. if you have equilibrium, what do you have? It's just you want the equilibrium of the kinetic energy of your species. You have different species. You have the electrons, you have the ions, you have neutrals, you have radicals, molecules, and all of them, if you want an equilibrium, you want them to have a maximum distribution of characteristics. So this is one kind of equilibrium that is important. Another equilibrium is the internal energy distribution on one atom or one ion. So the one on distribution of the Boltzmann distribution, just the distribution of your electrons at your energy level. And this will help you to really have an analytical solution for knowing the composition of your plasma. Then you can have chemical equilibrium. So I put here a very broad equation that A plus B reduces AB. So that can work for ionization as we saw with the psi equilibrium. So an ion A plus B would be electrons. And so you can go back to the neutral. You can have dissociation or particle formation. So this is another important part of the plasma processes because those radicals and atomic particles can be later on to some agglomeration and some aggregates in your plasma or it goes down. But then there is also the fourth one, that is the radiation equilibrium. And this radiation equilibrium would be a problem. So you can understand if you have a black body radiation, a black body, you have no radiation going out because every photon emitted would be absorbed at the same time in this body. So what you want is you want a lot more processes for the ejection of the solvent out of your plasma. You want emission more than you want absorption. And this is exactly what we want. We want everything governed by collisions. So as much as possible. So we want energies, equilibrium by collisions. We want internal energies, equilibrium by collisions. We want chemical reactions by collision. And then we just want the photons to go out of this plasma and give us the diagnostics of the iron inside. And this is a very large notion, but you can read a lot of its literature. The local thermodynamic equilibrium. Since you don't have the equilibrium, so the radiation equilibrium, you cannot have the thermodynamic equilibrium. But you can have it locally, you can have it locally. That means that parts in your plasma, if you can divide it in different cells, can be in thermodynamic equilibrium. And this means you have three steps. Now, if you have a local thermodynamic equilibrium, you have to have termination of the relational processes over the radiated processes. You need to have the different relational processes to be in equilibrium one with another. So that means you want to have all the same temperatures. And then you want to have the diffusion and the relaxation shorter than the fluctuation of temperature and electron density. That means you want to look at time scales where you can consider your equilibrium and not only in transient phenomena. Why all this discussion on local thermodynamic equilibrium is because, as you saw in the slide before, you can address them with analytical solution. You have the macro solution, you have the SAR solution, and the Boltzmann solution. And all these solutions, you can use them to invert the signal you have from the lips to go back to quantification of the constituents of your plasma. And this is the key for a nice analysis with lips. So now we have all these notions. So we went through the extraction, so the sampling, we went to the excitation, and we went to the equilibrium of your plasma. Now you want it to emit, and you want it to cool down. So this is the next section, and this is really the last part of these processes. So it's, as we're saying, that is dynamic emission because it's a pulsed event, and it's not like you have in, for example, ICT or where you have the torch that can run for a very long time. No, here you have processes that can last just for microseconds or milliseconds. And so when you have the laser pulse that comes in the nanosecond time scale, then you have a very large continuum at the very beginning. This continuum we'll talk about just after. Then you have recombination, so pure electrons to ions. Then the ions become neutrals by recombination, and then the neutrals will become radicals by radical formation and association. So that is, in this, you really need to have a detection that can be gated, at least triggered with something that around 100 nanoseconds here, because you want to be able to address the right emitter in your event. So first, the contamination here is a very easy slide, but what I want to show is you have two kind of contributions for this continuum. You have fractional emission, that is instead of excitation of the free state like it was before by the laser, now those electrons have no energy left, so they want to cool down and they go to the lower free state. And you can have recombination, that means they go on, so you have recombination of ions, and then they go on down state. And here you can see already, this expression on the top right, is the ratio of with the contribution of the free bounce of the recombination over the free fracture in the first round. And you can see this reference, there's a nice description of exactly how that works. And you can have fracturing at the very beginning, so that means you have first the free state transition, and then you have the recombination at very short period of time. And here is the spectrum, as you can see, when you have 20 nanoseconds, you can see that you have a very broad signal that then dies out and makes the peak and the atomic transition appear. So usually if you want to gate after this continuum, so this continuum doesn't provide you any information on the emitters themselves, it's more the electronic emission. Then you have this atomic emission, so people are very, very used to this one. Here's just an example of how rich can be this spectrum. So this one is just for iron, and it's between 15 nanometers. So 15 nanometers, you can have all the lines, and on the right you can see all the transitions possible in this iron atom. So it's very rich, and so you need to have a very nice spectroscopic instrument to be able to reach a nice resolution and avoid any evaporation. So this atomic emission, so you have the Browning, and so you still want to have a nice resolution, but this Browning will be a big problem. So this Browning is mainly due to three phenomena in many plasma spectroscopies. So you have the natural Browning, but you won't be able to see it if you just have a normal spectrometer, and you have a very high resolution. Then you have the Doppler Browning, that is related to the temperature of the plasma. But a very important one is the conditional Browning. It's related to the electron density. And you can see an example on the right, where you go from 20 nanoseconds to 1.5 microseconds. You can see that the width of the single line will just go down, and will be lower and lower, because the electron density will be lower and lower in time. So this is a very important notion to have when you want to do heating and quantization of your spectrum. Then another big problem that calibration. What does that mean? Is you have, so you begin to be the process like we're saying with the blackboard. So you have, these photons are emitted by the excitation of the ions, but they are reabsorbed by another one. And this will happen mainly, you can see in the case A and C, this will happen when you have the excitation on the lower state, because the probability for absorption will be higher than the case D. But besides absorption, you can see the case B here is not possible to create with a very nice point profile or a Lorentz profile. So what would be, what is disclosed? And it's because you can have, you have gradients in your plasma, and the Lipschitz plasma is not controlled. You have a Lipschitz plasma with temperature, electronic density gradient, that gives you asymmetry of the lines, like the case D. And if you take this into account, like it was done in this work, you can reproduce the asymmetry of lines and even the self-reversal of the lines. So that means you have to be careful when you do analysis with things. You have to look at regions where you already know what are the gradients, or you want to have the most homogeneous plasma as possible. Then the last emission I want to talk about is the radical emission. So this is mainly from diatomic radical to the oxide, to the cyanide and the diatomic carbon, for example. Those are mainly the well-known radicals you have in the plasma over several years. And here's an example of the CN transition. So this is the visible. So those are transitions between electron states, as you can see on the right. And that will give you rotational and irrational temperature to give you an idea of the active when you are, because those are just original processes as well. So you want to be able to address those issues. Then once you, so we covered, I think, everything from the beginning, so centering, excitation, expansion, provisional, equilibrium, and then emission. So you have a broad idea, you have some details, but you have a broad idea of what is the least even, and why it could be very difficult sometimes to address a specific problem. But besides that, you can give so many parameters can give you a nice way to optimize the technique and optimize it for a specific problem. And now I want to conclude this with some issues for this, because sometimes that we're saying at the beginning is could be the only option. And one example here is if you want to go in very exotic environments and you don't want to really contact any human, any electronics sometimes, because here's the example of cells, and because of radiation, you don't want your electronics to be to have the different size of the radiation, even if you want it to stay operational. So an idea, as you can see on the left, is you pass your laser just after a window, you analyze there, and radiation goes back where you window. And then you have a this is one of the only options if you want to go in this kind of environment. Another one that is very well developed in the community is the sense of detection of threats. This is very good at detecting atomic composition. So if you want to detect chemical, biological threats, this is a very nice option if you want to go towards 100 years, and it's been proven. And even explosive detection has been done and has been proven many times over 100 years. Another kind is the production chain monitoring, because you have the nice opportunity to have high repetition rate lasers. So you want to follow each product on the chain. You'll be able to do it if you take lasers that could be killers, for example, and you can analyze each of them in a single shot. And there is a large overview in the Lipschitz books that I mentioned at the beginning of this talk. Another trend is the space exploration. For sure, sometimes there can be space in this picture, because you have some geometries that you cannot put any analytical technique there on this rock. That would be very difficult to access at this point. So the laser is a very best option, and this is very well suited for that. Then I want to really conclude on this last slide with what I think is one of the future application and of this development is the forensics, because in forensics you have so many samples you want to analyze. You want that with a single system. You don't want to have too much preparation, because you need to go fast to provide the conclusion. So here is what we call the CSI effect, is all the electronics and all the technology you can get in just a simple case. This can fit in this kind of case with compact lasers, compact spectrometers, and just a small computer. And this is, I think, a very nice step towards the future for this application. So I want to thank you for attending this conference, and now I will let Dave be the speaker.
All right, well, thank you a lot. That's a great presentation. Before we get started on the question and answer session, I'd like to remind our audience how to submit questions for the live Q&A. As a reminder, text chat is located in the lower left-hand side of your screen. To submit questions, type your question in the small text box at the bottom, and when finished, click the submit button. Please note that due to time constraints, our speaker may not be able to respond to all questions today. If we don't answer your questions during live event, we'll receive an answer from our team. So let's move on. We have a question here from one viewer. It's a pretty short, sweet one. They'd like to know, what is the depth of penetration? So the depth of penetration usually can be a couple of tens of nanometers to not even a micrometer. So it's very on the surface. So it's just a small, I would say, imprint on your sample. Some people will call it image. It's very, very simple. It depends on what is how precious will be your sample for you if you want to analyze it or not. Okay. We have a viewer here who indicates that who would like to know, what is the difference? What is the difference between laser ablation OES and LIS?
So there is no difference, I would say. The laser ablation, just when you say laser ablation OES, you don't include the fact that you have a plasma in the acronym. But this is exactly the same technique, I would say.
Okay. And we have another viewer who would like to know, how was the calibration of your presentation?
So the calibration is something very, very important. And then even the application you have. For example, if you go in the industry and you want to analyze data example or an alloy, for example, you know exactly what you have. And this is a very small set of samples you get. So you can get calibration samples, and for example from Philips or any other company. And then you just measure the calibration curves. Another next very interesting trend since 1999 has been calibration free. That means you use the notion of equilibrium that I was talking earlier. And because you can invert the signal thanks to those analytical relations. And so you just have this the spectrum itself. You go back to the concentration. So it has shown some going to the GTM can be possible with this kind of calibration free technique. And this is one thing that the whole community is working on, to provide this kind of very unique calibration free analysis.
And we have two different viewers who have similar questions. They're looking at the quantitative capability of LIS, and that is a quantitative technique.
So after that you have the calibration, you can go with the quantitation. Then, as I was saying, it really depends what you want to do. So you would be very careful with your calibration curves if you want to go very considered. Some people have mentioned in all the literature you can go towards DTD. There is no problem for many techniques, but then you optimize your plasma for just distance. For example, if you want to have a broad image, and you can have like in biological application or food application, if you can have like 20 elements everything at the same time. And the thing is, you have to do a continuum. Then you can achieve a TTM for sure, but then several techniques have been able to address single elements in this and provide sub-TTM and towards TTD.
Okay. We do have another viewer here who would like to know, what's your opinion on extending this to longer IR wavelengths?
You mean with the laser or with the detection?
I believe the laser.
Okay. The IR region is very nice in the sense of the eye-safe concerns, as you know, the safety is better. For sure, you need enough power to create a plasma. Some people would say it's safer, more than eye-safe. But this is one thing that the IR can be great. Another thing is, and then we go back to the same thing question, is if you want to analyze polymers or molecular samples, then you have vibrational absorption there that can be very addressed well if you have tunable lasers in the IR. And there's some communication on this idea, and having ablation with the IR lasers for addressing some bones and it's the signal of some elements you want to address.
Okay. And we got another viewer here who would like to know, how much is the typical pulse energy used in this?
I would say you can say a few millijoules to a few tens of millijoules. It's a story, you can change what it is the other.
Okay. We have another viewer here who would like to know, let's get to this here. What if they're saying that what's the limitation to this pulse sensitivity? What strategy can help to overcome that?
So, yeah, as we're saying, so then you don't go with single pulses, and then you can address it with different techniques like adding several pulses. And for example, there's the double pulse itself is you can keep on the plasma going for a long time. You add there is one that is if you just want to go very low in detection and in quantification, you can have the microwaves is something that can be used, and we explored in our lab. One thing also is to use resonance. You can do fluorescence in your plasma, so you refer to specific atom or specific element. And you can, there's some new work that you can, and they were doing the ablation and this excitation of single element by a single pulse. So if you want to go in very good deeper detection, then usually you want to adapt the technique. So you just use this as a plasma creation, just for the creation of the plasma, and then you use another pulse, and you can do this. You can do different other techniques, optical techniques, I would say, to go lower detection.
Okay. We have another viewer here who mentions that you spoke about parts per million analyses. Can you list two major element analyses of the organic?
That's one thing. It depends what's the details you want in the percentage of error. But you can go through a few percent for sure when you have 99% elements. I haven't worked so much in each field, but you can go through lower than 1%, I'm sure.
Okay. We have a viewer here with a general question. What are the biggest challenges currently faced by the listening community?
One thing was in the abstract, I would say, is the recognition by the field. But I hope that this presentation can help you have an idea of what we're doing. But another one is really to deal with physical detection just with one pulse. For example, having protocols to achieve analysis in labs, I would say, more often. And one big trend is really the development of the calibration for gifts, and I think this is one big step to go forward.
Okay. We have another viewer who would like to know, is wavelength interaction a problem for this? For example, the Pixelian band, would you have an ICP OES?
That's fine. If I understood the question, so if you want to look at the difference, I guess, you can get zero spectrum, or in this case, you can always find out where you want to go in zero spectrum. But for the wavelength direction, I think it's just you can adapt either the spectral region or the laser interaction if you want to get rid of this. This is not an issue.
Okay. We have a viewer here who would like to know, which way do you recommend UV IR, for example, for each kind of sample, metal, semiconductor, and isolate?
That's a tough question. I was saying, so we're several people working in the possible to have protocols, and this is a studio that we need to extend. I would say it depends what you want to do. That's the answer to a lot of questions. This is like the magic of phase stages. You can optimize it. So, and for metals, as you say, you want to have a lower effect. So you want to go with lower wavelength. So I would say visible UV. Then if you have semiconductors, for sure you want to go with, as we're saying in this slide, you want to have a large absorption. So you want to have a lower effect. So you can leave a bit of your bank to work on this. And for organics, as and we're saying it's very interesting to look at UV, for example, to address the absorption band, or you can go to the IR to address very specific vibrational bands.
All right, well, I think that's about all we have time for right now, but thank you for being with us, Matthew. We have a lot of questions for you. Yeah, we'll be sure to get these questions that are over because there's a big list. I'd also like to thank the audience for their interesting questions and participation in today's event. And I'd like to thank Android Technology for making today's educational webcast possible. Please note that this webcast will be available for on-demand viewing through September 29th, 2011. We will be email from Spectroscopy people you, and this webcast will be available for replay. Please invite your colleagues and fans to view the on-demand by forwarding them the announcement. On behalf of Spectroscopy, I'd like to thank you once again for attending today's webcast. Basic principles of laser and breakdown spectroscopy. See you next time. Goodbye.
あ、バス撮ってる。でもね、これはね、夜なんですよ。ちょっとね、高いんですよ。
Technology has been a leader in high-performance digital camera solutions for almost 20 years. In 2005, we introduced the Revolution range of laser microscopy systems for live cell imaging. Revolution products express a unique blend of hardware and software design, innovation, and manufacturing skills. Our aim is to deliver a robust leading-edge solution and a positive buying and ownership experience. Andor Revolution covers confocal, first, and wide field imaging with photo placing and activation capabilities. These tools enable researchers to explore live specimens with previously unattainable speed and sensitivity, revealing new details and processes. Confocal scanning is achieved with the Yokogawa CSU X1 latest generation dual spinning disc. Excitation is supplied by Andor's ALC laser combiner, characterized by long life and compact design. The highest quality solid-state lasers and ultra-stable mechanical platform deliver up to 5 user-selected wavelengths by optical fiber. The built-in acousto-optic tunable filter provides microsecond control and effectively eliminates crosstalk. An optional multi-port optical switch extends ALC uses its first on Strapa elimination. Strapa provides an interactive computer-steered laser beam for photo placing and activation. Detection options include filter wheels, field splitters, and dual camera adapters to support multi-channel parametric imaging. There are no better detectors for live cell imaging than Andor Ixon or Clara. Andor IQ is the Revolution system multi-dimensional imaging platform. Managing huge datasets and synchronizing high-performance hardware for acquisition is core functionality. In version 2 of Andor IQ, we introduced Titan scripting, enhanced multi-thread graphics, and new parallel acquisition engine. Revolution systems provide the best in confocal, turf, and Strapa laser microscopy for live cell imaging. Discover new ways of seeing and visit www.andor.com to find out more. Hello, this is Julian Heath, the editor of Microscopy Analysis, and I'm here as the moderator of this webinar in which Dr. Mark Brown of Andor Technology will give a presentation entitled New Technologies for Confocal Live Cell Microscopy, and he will introduce Andor's new Clara camera, a new laser platform for pulsed ultraviolet uncaging and ablation, and showcase the new differential spinning disc technology for wide light confocal imaging. I'm pleased to tell you that we had a great turnout today with more than 500 registrants from all around the world. But before we start, I'd just like to give out some logistical details about this webinar. You should at this time be seeing the introductory slide on your screen. Remember that this is an interactive web seminar. You can ask questions at any time during the presentation by clicking on the questions tab at the top of the page that you are viewing. The presentation will last about 45 minutes. After the presentation, I will feed your questions to Mark for his answers. If we're not able to get to your questions during this live event, we will follow up with you by email. This seminar is also being recorded and will be available as an on-demand download from tomorrow. So now on to our webinar on New Technologies for Confocal Live Microscopy, which is presented by Dr. Mark Brown. After academic appointments at URIST in Manchester and at Lancaster University, Mark Brown left academic life in 1991 to co-found Kinetic Imaging. He spent the next 13 years at Kinetic and Medical Solutions and joined Andor when they acquired Kinetic Imaging in 2004. Mark now heads up the systems division within Andor and is responsible for systems, software and market development in this sector. I will now hand you over to Mark, who will begin the webinar. Mark, welcome.
Thank you, Ian. Thanks very much for that introduction. Well, without more ado, I'm just going to launch into the presentation, and we're going to discuss, as Julian said, some new technologies that were introduced, just introduced or about to introduce later in the year. So in some ways, it's a preview of what's to come. The only thing I'm not going to talk about that was on your list, which I should have corrected but hadn't done previously, is that we're not going to discuss the pulse UV uncaging system. That will be the subject of a future presentation. Anyway, I'll move on. So from the title slide. So just a little bit of history about Andor Technology for those of you who may not have heard of the business. Andor was started in 1989 as a spin-out from Queen's University in Belfast and is currently headquartered in Belfast and has offices all around the world now. And Andor introduced a number of innovative products over those years, which you can see on the slide there. One of the most notable was the intensified CCD in the iStar product, and then later in 2002, Andor introduced the Ixon cameras that have now become recognized as the leading product for applications as demanding finding new planets in astronomy and also observing single molecules within physical sciences and life sciences. In 2003, relationship with Yokogawa, who manufacture the CSU-X laser spinning disc instrument. We launched our Revolution product range. And so what I'd like to talk to you today is what we've been doing since we've been building the product range and what we'll be introducing in the recent past and also in the near future. So, in the normal way, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you and then I'm going to tell it to you. So we have here a systems overview. I'm going to give you a quick reminder about what a laser spinning disc confocal system looks like, identify new components that we've introduced, cameras and light sources, and then discuss the new mid-range scanning spinning disc scanner that we're going to talk about. The new microscopy camera that we're introducing, the Clara, which Julian has already mentioned, is going to be identified, and we'll compare it with the market leaders and identify the key features of the product and identify the areas where it has enormous strength. Then we'll talk about the new light sources that we're introducing, briefly mention the new 5-line solid-state laser combiner, and give a bit more detail on the new metal halide light source that we'll be introducing for general microscopy applications. And then we'll focus on the differential spinning disc scanner. The white light confocal instrument arrives as we see it. There have been a number of instruments developed, but this one has some unique features which we think will make it the first truly successful white light confocal. And then we'll mention a little bit about applications and compare the laser spinning disc with the white light spinning disc, primarily through a feature comparison. So this is the schematic here of the CSU-X, or the confocal scanning unit from Yokogawa, which is a core component of our high-end Revolution Lifestyle laser spinning disc instruments. And you can see that you have it's a dual disc instrument. The top disc has a series of micro lenses embedded into it or constructed into it, and below it, in exact alignment, is a series of 50-micron pinholes. And the laser illumination is collimated and comes from the top, through the top disc. And each micro lens now